My brother answered something in the woods. The first time I heard the howl, I thought it was coming from the forest. The second time I realized it was closer. Third time I understood something I will never forget. The howl was not searching for prey. It was calling someone by name. And at exactly 12:30, my little brother answered it. We moved to the edge of the wood-creased forest at the beginning of winter, when the trees were stripped bare and the sky seemed permanently bleached. The house had belonged to my grandmother, who had passed away the previous spring under circumstances no one explained clearly. My mother inherited the property quickly, almost urgently, and instead we relocated before the year ended. The house stood alone at the very edge of the woods, where the tree line pressed so close to the backyard fence that the branches scraped the roof when the wind rose. The locals in the town were polite but distant. When they learned where we lived, conversations ended abruptly. One elderly cashier at the grocery store paused when my mother mentioned the address. "You are near Woodcrest?" she asked quietly. My mother nodded. The woman's smile faded. "Lock your doors before the full moon," she said. We assumed it was small town superstition, but we were wrong. My younger brother, Arab, adjusted to the new house faster than any of us. He spent long evenings standing at his bedroom window, staring into the forest, as if watching something move between the trees. One night I asked him what he was looking at. He did not turn toward me. "It is almost here," he said softly. "What is?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "You can't hear it yet." 3 nights before the full moon, Arab began sleepwalking. At first it was subtle. I woke to the sound of his bedroom door creaking open and found him standing in the hallway with his eyes open but unfocused. When I touched his shoulder, his skin felt unusually warm, and he returned to the bed without speaking. The second night, my father discovered the back door unlocked. Snow had drifted across the threshold, and there were faint tracks leading toward the woods. The third night, Arab was gone. We found him standing barefoot in a clearing about 50 yards into Woodcrest Forest. The snow around him was disturbed by enormous prints, far larger than any wolf's paw I had ever seen. Some impressions were shaped like claws. Others resembled elongate human footprints pressed unnaturally deep into the frozen ground. Arab was not afraid. He was looking upward toward the dark branches overhead, as if awaiting instructions. When we brought him back inside, he began humming quietly under his breath. The melody was unfamiliar, but the rhythm matched the howling we heard later that night. The first howl rolled through the trees shortly after midnight. It was not distant. It carried weight, as though something massive stood just beyond the yard. The windows trembled slightly in their frames. Arab sat upright in the bed when the instant sound reached for him. His expression was not one of fear. It was recognition. Over the next 2 nights, the disturbance grew bolder. Something circled the house after midnight. We heard deliberate footsteps in the snow, slow and heavy, pausing beneath each window. There were moments when I could see something was breathing outside my bedroom glass, fogging it with long streaks of condensation. One evening, I looked through the curtains and saw a shape standing between the trees. It was tall, taller than any man. Its outline was wrong, with shoulders too broad and limbs too long. 2 faint golden reflections hovered where its eyes should have been. It was not watching me. It was watching my brother. Arab began to change in ways that terrified me more than the howling. His appetite disappeared, yet he grew stronger. His voice deepened slightly, carrying an unfamiliar resonance. When he smiled, I noticed his canine teeth looked sharper, almost newly grown. On the night before the full moon, I saw him in the bathroom mirror. For a split second, his reflection did not move. When he did, it blinked a moment later, out of sync. The full moon rose enormous and pale over Woodcrest, bathing the trees in silver light. At 12:13 a.m., Arab screamed. It was a sound of violent transformation, as though something inside him had finally broken its cage. His body convulsed, arching upward as bones shifted beneath his skin. The cracking was sharp and rhythmic. His fingers curled backward unnaturally before lengthening. His jaw stretched wider than it should have been able to, teeth pressing forward as though pushed by invisible force. My mother rushed toward him, but he released a low guttural growl that froze her mid-step. His eyes changed fast. They did not glow theatrically. They burned with death molten gold spreading across his irises. Fur erupted along his spine and arms in the dark patches. His frame expanded, muscles twisting violently beneath tightening skin. The smell filled the room, wet fur, iron, and something primal that did not belong inside a house. Then he howled, and the answering howl came instantly from outside. The windows shattered inward as something enormous forced its way through the living room glass. The creature that entered was nearly 8 feet tall, covered in thick matted fur. Its chest bore jagged scars that shimmered faintly under moonlight, as though silver had once been melted into its flesh. Its claws scraped against the hardwood floor, leaving deep grooves. It did not attack. It lowered its massive head toward Arab, not as a predator, as kin. My father fired the gun he had kept hidden for weeks. The silver shell struck the creature's chest and smoke rose from the wound. The smell of burnt flesh filled the room. The creature staggered but did not fall. Instead, it began to change. Its towering frame collapsed inward, fur retracting as bones reshaped. Within seconds, a man stood where the beast had been. Tall, scarred, breathing heavily. He looked at my mother. "You were supposed to tell them," he said quietly. The accusation in his voice was not anger. It was disappointment. My mother began to cry. "I thought if we stayed away from Woodcrest, it would fade," she whispered. The man shook his head slowly. "It does not fade," he replied. "It waits." I stared at him, confusion cutting through my fear. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. His face was familiar, not identical, but similar. The shape of the face, the eyes, the arc of the brows. He was not just a monster. He was in family. He was our mother's grandfather. My mother chose to stay human, my mom said sadly. She refused the bond. The man's gaze shifted to me. "You were the first in 3 generations to hear the call clearly," he said. The room fell silent, except for Arab's heavy breathing. "You were not born by accident," the man continued. "Woodcrest does not call randomly. It calls those who carry its mark." Pain shot through my chest suddenly, sharp and blinding. I collapsed to my knees as heat spread beneath my skin. My reflection in the broken glass flickered. For a brief second, I saw something standing behind my human form. A larger shape, waiting. The man did not extend his hand to Ara. He extended it to me. "You are not the one being claimed," he said softly. "You are the one being awakened." The howling outside multiplied, harmonizing into a chorus that shook the walls. Arab stepped forward, but the man stopped him gently. "Not yet," he whispered. Then he looked directly into my eyes. Alpha blood does not follow, he said. It leads. Understanding crashed into me with terrifying clarity. The forest had not been calling my brother. It had been testing him to see if I would answer. My mother's voice broke behind me. I hope you would never realize, but realization is irreversible. The air no longer felt cold. It felt alive. Woodcrest was not a forest. It was a boundary, and something inside me had just stepped across it. I rose slowly to my feet. The man bowed his head slightly, not in dominance, but in recognition. The house outside fell silent at once, waiting, not for him, for me. The next morning, the house stood undisturbed, except for shattered glass and deep claw marks carved into the oak door. From the inside, there were no bodies, no blood, only silence. The town of Woodcrest says the forest has grown quieter since that night. People no longer disappear. Stray dogs are no longer found torn apart at the edge of town because predators don't hunt where they live. They expand, and 3 nights from now, the full moon will rise again. If you live near a forest and you hear something calling your name in the dark, don't answer it. Because if Woodcrest ever calls you twice, it's not asking, it's remembering, and it never forgets what belongs to it.